Good morning and welcome to the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Galetti along with Ed Nunez. Alton Iowani, our fine director. We have another couple weeks before it is on. It's hard to believe, Ed Nunez, as the season for high school sports, for college for that matter, you're having media days and colleges going on. And now high school is about a month away before the first games of the season. Then from then on, you know the old drill. We talk about the games, and we talk about selection seating, we talk about basketball, talk about baseball. Next thing you know, it's summer break.
Yeah, and that's how quick things go, and it's hard to believe that it is a month away before football starts, and pretty soon we'll be talking about two-a-days, team previews, capsules, the whole thing. And Adam Deal, I was talking to him the other day, and he's really ready to get into some football, professional, college. I heard J.J. Buck on 610 this morning breaking down the Mountain West with Ned James. I don't know.
Well, they got their media day going on in Vegas this week, I believe. So
yeah, he was talking about Fresno State, Boise State. I didn't get a chance to hear him talk about the University of New Mexico. They're coming off 2, 3, and 9 seasons, and they have a lot of work to do. Hopefully they won't. But I still look at it and think, are they still ever going to draw any? Does it mean anything if they win? I mean, it's the last 4 or 5 years. Even on a 9-3 season, what they average 18,000 announced.
Well, unfortunately, the trend has been the same ever since Rocky Long's last year. You know, they beat Nevada with Colin Kaepernick. They go 9-4 that year. The next year, attendance goes down, and then he leaves. We know what happened with Mike Loxley. Now Bob Davies in there now, and they're at an all-time low attendance-wise. Even though Bob Davies' team won 9 games a couple of years ago. It seems like forever with the last 2 years with 3. But 3's better than 1, but people are still kind of unhappy. And the good news is the 3 last year and the year before, most of the games, not all, but most, they were competitive. Now the 1 in 11 years, they shouldn't have won the 1.
No, Mike Loxley, you and I have talked about that before. I thought, I've been a Lobo football fan since '70. That was one of the worst football seasons I remember, but I also go back to what Bob Brown said.
Seasons plural.
Yes. Bob Brown said this, though, if you're a football town, they're there at 2 o'clock, they're there at 6 o'clock, it doesn't matter what time the game starts. And for the past couple of seasons, they just haven't been able to garner hardly any attendance at all. And in some cases, as you mentioned, I was here for the Mike Shepard days. I saw Joe Lee Dunn, Joe Morrison. Joe Morrison had some good crowds out there, Rudy Feldman, Bill Mott. And it breaks my heart because I'm a Lobo football fan. I'm going to stay with the program. I'm going to cheer for them. But I told you this too, if it's an 8 o'clock game, and I've been one of the worst people of all, if it's on TV, I'm staying home, right? I'm going to, and maybe I should get out to the stadium. Rudy Chavez, the longtime Lobo, he's a big Lobo fan, right? He's always saying.
That's an understatement.
Right, he's a huge Lobo fan.
That's an understatement.
I hear him say this, though, like, buy a ticket. Well, you know what? Here's the other flip side of that. Give me a reason to buy one. Give me a reason for me to go out there. Now, I'm going to be a fan.
Well, the reason him and Leroy Lucero, who's kind of backed off a little bit on that mantra to buy a ticket, although he still says it, the reason to buy a ticket is to support the program and, get the school money. But as a fan, like you said, the fan will say, why do I need to buy a ticket? I could stay home, watch the game on TV.
Right, and no, you're right. In the situation with UNM athletics and finances, I do understand where Rudy's coming from. No one's a bigger advocate for Lobo athletics than Rudy Chavez.
Well, you and I know people a lot like Rudy Chavez, friends and, people just, part of the program and everything that are saying the same thing, buy a ticket, but it's hard to convince people to buy a ticket.
Yeah, it really is.
It's getting that way for basketball.
Oh man, I hate to even say that because I've been a Lobo fan again since '70, and I've seen.
Well, that has more to do with season tickets and the seat license, but that's a different fight. But I know a lot. You and I know a lot of people that have tickets, and there's complaints out there.
No, yes, and hopefully that they'll be alleviated. He's got a lot of good players. Coach Paul Weir, the UNM head coach.
No, I'm not talking about the team. I'm talking about just prices.
Oh, no, you're right. You're right.
I'm not talking about the team. This is supposed to be an exciting team coming up. So
well, you know what?
The on-the-court product should be worth paying for.
A couple years ago, they jacked up parking and that made some people.
Well,
very
apparently
upset.
they keep raising stuff, and I think that's kind of the wall that longtime fans are at right now.
Well, as we mentioned, the state of the UNM athletic finances isn't very good, and you can understand why they're doing some of that. But then the product on the field, people are not going to go pay extra to go see that. So
Right.
there's it's catch-22 for sure.
Let's bring in our special guest right now. He is known as being the co-host, the show contributor, the sidekick. What else do they call you? It's Sam Hauser from ESPN Radio 101.7 The Team. You can hear him on the Jim Villanucci show. You can hear him pressing buttons to do derogatory comments towards me when I'm doing on-site producing on ESPN Radio 101.7. But Sam, how you doing?
It's always good to see you, Scott. You know it's a term of endearment.
Oh, I know. See, that's the thing. Now, you came from Minnesota by way of Florida. Tell the TV folks who may not know who Sam Hauser is and maybe haven't tuned in. So tune in 4 to 7 every day. Tell the folks a little bit about yourself, because you worked in Florida. In fact, you worked alongside a guy who I worked with many years ago,
Yes.
which is kind of small world situation. Then you went to Minnesota and then came here.
Yeah, so this is my 8th year professionally, at least in radio. Like you said, just kind of, I never intended for any of this to ever happen. I started out at a college radio station thinking, all right, this looks cool, this is fun, I like radio.
Right.
And then after 2 years of that, it just turned into a job, and I'm just, okay, I guess this is a thing now. And so, yeah, one job turned into another, and into this one. And then I met Jim, and everything else is just in the past after that.
Now, obviously, the three of us are, good friends. How talk about, how getting to know Jim and now, the working relationship, because, I don't know how long you've known him, but it seems like you've known each other for years. I've known him since 2008, so
Yeah.
I've known him for a long time, and everything just clicks.
Well, it's funny, you asked what my other different titles were, and the very first one was Matt. Thought my name was Matt for some reason, even though
I forgot about that.
we connected on Twitter first before I even started working at 101.7 The Team, and after a little while I started going to Lobo games with him, and he introduced me to everybody as Matt. So finally, after about the second or third game, I said, you keep telling people my name is Matt, I'm gonna think that's my name. So that from there we've been inseparable ever since.
Yeah.
It's funny because Jim Villanucci's made a name for himself in a lot of different markets. He was at KKOB here
Right.
for a number of years. And sports, going into sports radio, when I heard that, I'm not going to lie, I was surprised, because I didn't know that was a strength of his.
That was the mild reaction.
Right, yeah. But I remember when I listened on KKOB many years ago, I listened on the way home. And,
Yeah.
he always had a good audience, a lot of good calls. And, Jim Villanucci's going to say what Jim Villanucci wants to say. Talk about a little bit about having chemistry with him. Now, you're kind of the guy that brings in, the sports the subjects. You guys play off each other very well. Robert Mailer has left since then.
Yeah.
You guys and Scott does a great job as well.
Yeah.
But talk about working with Jim a little bit and developing some chemistry on the air. Now, you develop chemistry as a friend.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit different on the air. Talk about that.
Oh, it's completely different on air. It's indescribable how different it is. I don't know. I've never really had chemistry problems with people on air. Like in part, you're doing a job,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
but in actuality, if you like the person that you're working with, it's a lot easier to do that. And also, he was really instrumental in helping me get this job, and just in terms of radio and learning about radio and just about life in general, I've learned more from him in the last 6 months than I did in the previous 7.5 years before that. So no, it's been a ton of fun.
I think with a guy like him, he has so many life experiences.
Right.
I'm about the same age as Jim. I haven't had near the experiences that he has, but he's interesting and entertaining to listen to because he'll have a sports subject and you might go in a different direction, right? And Jim's just going to go totally different, but it's entertaining.
Right,
He's
well-
an entertainer, there's no question.
It works because we're such different generations. I'm 26, he's 56, but we have some of the same tendencies as the other's generation too. He has some millennial tendencies, and I have some whatever generation he is tendencies too. So I think that's part of the reason why it's worked so well.
Yeah, one of the things that you kind of involved into the program is when Jim and even myself talk about old things, you've got old vaudeville music
Yeah,
puts
well,
vaudeville
I had
music
to
over
I
it,
had to
so.
keep him on track because otherwise it would be a show that would be better suited for 1975 than 2019. So sometimes I got to keep him on track, but we do it.
Right.
He gets a kick out of it, and we like what we do with Scott. It's a term of endearment. We make fun of each other. We do radio. I mean, when you're on the air for 15 hours a week, you got to find a way to keep it fun and interesting and fresh. And so that's kind of the way we do that.
Well, the nice thing also, Sam Hauser's our guest here from ESPN Radio 1017 The Team. The one nice thing is we get to deal with consultants from the big network.
Well, yeah, and that's the great thing about being at 1017 The Team is we have the brand power, the backing of ESPN, but we're locally owned and operated with Joe O'Neill just does a fantastic job running the station, and he gives us everything that we need from all those network resources. So, I mean, it's almost like the perfect situation of having ESPN there when we need them, but also them not really, telling us how to run a station.
Right, and that's kind of the cool thing, and I don't know the network affiliations that you had at your old stations, but how rare in your young career is that, to just kind of have full autonomy over what you run and then run the network programming on the side?
Yeah, it's rare. It's not something that you really see very often. I've had a little bit of that in the past, but nothing like here with 1017 The Team.
Right. Now, you've had a chance with Adam Deal here from Proview Networks, obviously,
Yes.
to be the co-host of the United Soccer Show on Saturdays from 10 to 11. What has it been like you? And you'll love this story. He's a big, he knew all about the Minnesota United because
Yeah.
he was telling us about their stadium before Joe O'Neill and the crew ever went out there to see it. And, so he's got his hand in a little bit of soccer. How big do you think this has turned out to be? Because, there were questions, teams come and go here, but Peter Trevisani, Troy Lesane, obviously,
Right.
the head coach, both have done a great job just marketing the team. Your thoughts just on the team and where it's become and where it's going?
Well, I think both those guys would tell you that just nobody could have imagined this turning out to what it is now. I mean, they did a really good job when the whole thing first started out. They had the billboards, they did a really good job of promoting the team and say, hey, we got a new soccer team. This is going to be a thing coming up. They did a really good job with that. And, it was just, for whatever it was the messaging, the way that they worded it, with the billboards, it was 505, 575, it's something that you could easily roll your eyes at, but they did a really good job of just saying, hey, this is not just, we're not just putting together a team. We're putting together something that we want everybody to be a part of, and that was the biggest difference. Some teams, if a team changes ownership hands, like the Miami Marlins, when Derek Jeter took over the Marlins, his whole idea was we want to just focus on Miami. We want to be a Miami team. We want to get everybody in Miami to be on board, and then if that works, then we'll talk about some other parts of Florida. And these guys are like, no. That's not how this works. You got to, if you're going to try to get attendance numbers, you have to give yourself the widest audience possible.
Right.
And so, no, they did a fantastic job of that.
We'll take a break here and come right back. We've got Sam Hauser from ESPN Radio 1017 The Team. We'll take a break, but first, the top 10 plays of the week brought to you by Dreamstyle.
Fires forward with the right hand, a left and then a right, and this one. By Sanchez and right back on the right hand. They'll exchange it. Combination now for Pitbull. There's. Torres says, let's go. He says, come get me. And the crowd will boo. And now, fighted this, hasn't he? Oh, there's a great combination. And now I think you're seeing this. Here, a minute to go in round one. And then a right hand. You see Ramirez switch. Well, there's a good answer right back. That's a great combination for Griego to end it. Look at the quick combination. Nice left. Down. 2 minutes to go in round 3. Benavides puts Ramirez down. A shot to.
Gentlemen, your winner, the Pitbull, Josh Lawrence, ladies and gentlemen.
We're back here on the Sports Desk. Scott Galetti along with Ed Nunez, Alden Iowani doing our producing, directing. We've got the guys upstairs now. They're no longer on the same level. We got Jason Pohl. We got, all the crew up there.
Josh Brown, Josh Luna.
Luna.
I think when you and I went up there a couple weeks ago, I had never been upstairs, and it's impressive. I'm glad, everything, they deserve that, right? I mean, and it's nice and cool in the studio. Everything is working just perfectly.
We're supposed to mention that on the air, Ed.
Well,
the part about the cool.
Nice and cool.
Yeah, I was going to keep that
Yeah.
low key. But we have got our special guest here, Sam Hauser from ESPN Radio 101.7 The Team. Looking dapper, by the way, Sam.
I know how to dress
I know
myself,
you
Scott.
do. I know
Thank
you.
you.
Do, but I mean, normally you're behind the glass.
Yeah.
And you're the man incognito. Although I did want to ask you, and I waited till after the break to do so. You did color for the New Mexico United last week, and how was that?
It was fun. I mean, I like working with Adam. Obviously, you guys see him a lot more than I do, but he's fun. He's easy to work with, and it was only fitting that the two guys who host the United show every Saturday on 101.7, 10 to 11. It was only fitting that at some point, we got to actually call a game together.
Right. Then you got to do the game, which was at New Mexico's soccer complex, the UNM soccer complex, not Isotopes Park. They had a pretty decent turnout, but I'm wondering how many people didn't go because of the venue. Nothing against that venue, but it's all bench seating, and some people don't like bench seating.
Well, I mean, they couldn't have gotten any more people in there. It was as close to sold out as it could possibly be. It was about 6,300.
Right.
So I don't think that turned anybody away. It's kind of been the blessing and the curse of the schedule so far, where United spent so much time away from Albuquerque that when they do come back for a home game, everybody's just super pumped and they want to go.
Right.
Like no matter where it is, it could have,
The thing is, if that match would have been at Isotopes Park, they would have got 17,000.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't work out with the schedule, kind of like the same reason they couldn't host any Open Cup games in the U.S. Open Cup. Just kind of the same thing. But, it's not a bad thing every once in a while for any team to just get that smaller, louder, intimate atmosphere. You got the people stomping on the bleachers. It was, it was unique every once in a while. It was just kind of added to the whole unique experience of playing Cardiff.
You, Jim Villanucci, and then myself, we all in the past month at least have been talking very heavy about the United and the Cup.
Right.
That was a great run.
Oh, it was fantastic.
I mean, it came to an end against a very good MLS team in Minnesota United. But, I mean, still, they kind of shocked everyone scoring that first goal until, the Minnesota United kind of put on the gas and, showed the disparity between not a minor league, but a lower tier league and the MLS.
Second tier team.
Because it shows where the players on the United want to be.
Right, exactly. They scored first. They dominated about the first 10 minutes or so, and then Minnesota United after that showed that, like you said, that they're a much better team. But, that was kind of the first time. It was interesting. That was the first time that a team in the Open Cup against United really brought out their full roster. They really showed them everything they had. And we thought that FC Dallas was going to do that after what United did to the Rapids, but they still had some other guys in some injuries in some other tournaments. So, but still, you beat two MLS teams. It doesn't matter who's on the roster at that point. It was a fantastic run for United, and the best part of it, it speaks such volumes about this team. They lose 6-1 at Minnesota. It'd be easy for everybody to be upset and frustrated and disappointed. And in the locker room after the game, Troy Lesesne, the head coach, is saying, "Look, we made New Mexico matter. Let's keep doing this." And it was just, it tells you everything. That 30-second clip is such a perfect microcosm of what this team is all about.
Now it's the first year for this franchise, and they have lofty goals. All you have to do is ask Peter Trevisani and ask him 6 months before the team actually played its first game, and he would have told you the goals. And those
Right.
goals haven't changed. Now Jeff Grammer of the Journal, on Twitter last week, about the attendance, about the run in the cup. One of the tweets he had is, okay, now let's make a stadium happen. It's the first time that I'd really seen somebody in the media kind of pushing, well, let's get a stadium for this team, especially after seeing what Minnesota has as a stadium, because you don't, and even Joe O'Neill was talking about the Colorado Rapids Stadium, which is 18,000.
Yeah.
You don't need the biggest stadium to be successful in these leagues. 18 to 24, 25 is probably a good number.
Oh, it's plenty. I would even say maybe even 16 to 18 at this point for United. But I think everything that we've seen at Isotopes Park shows that they could do it. I mean, it would certainly help if they keep up this run, if they keep winning. I mean, that's what's gotten people out here. But this is an event. They've made it an event. They've made it something that people want to be a part of. And I mean, we've been talking about it a lot on the show as well. When the story first came out from the Business Journal that Peter Trevisani was even looking into the areas downtown and the sawmill and this and that, that should be the next evolution for this team. It should be something that they want. It should be something. It seems like it is something that people here in town want for this team. It would certainly give them an opportunity to host Open Cup games, which would be huge and which would obviously be incredibly exciting. It would be a great next step for these guys, and they've earned it. I mean, even with the second half of the season still ahead of us, they've earned whatever they have coming towards them.
I know Ed wants to get in on the conversation, but one more question on last week's game. What did you think of the curse seeing them in person?
Against Cardiff?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they always come out. I mean,
Well, we hear them on the radio.
Right.
We hear them, wherever, but you got a chance to see them in person. What was
No,
that like watching?
it's another great story on kind of alongside the team as well. They started with a group of like 50 guys and thought they were on top of the world, and now they're sitting here with a couple of hundred, to the point where teams around the soccer world are looking at them and saying, why can't we do that?
Yeah.
It's kind of added to the whole story with United on the field, with what the curse has done. It's just everything that this organization has done has taken the soccer world by notice.
I think one of the things that you mentioned is you made New Mexico proud that United had done that. And I've lived in Albuquerque all 57 years of my life and have seen minor league teams come and go. Seen the Geckos, the Chili's, the Slam, the Thunderbirds, and for whatever reason, only the Dukes / Isotopes have survived, and the Dukes went away for 10 years. So United, their marketing plan, you mentioned that, but I think all of a sudden the city, for whatever reason, embraced United almost from the get-go. There's a store on Carlisle there with merchandise, right? But I think it's for someone that's lived here. I'm not the biggest soccer fan, but I'm learning, right? I'm going to embrace anything that's good for Albuquerque, right?
Right.
So I think one of the things that you mentioned, and this was mentioned years ago before they built Isotopes Park. They had talked about building it downtown, right? Now, they didn't, and it worked out good. That's the best thing, one of the best things Albuquerque's ever done, was that park, was Isotopes Park. The fact that it's even being mentioned that United might have a stadium of their own, wow. I can't even tell you, 3 years ago, if you said that to somebody, they'd look at you like, you sure? And that just tells you, I think, how United just took this landscape by storm. They really did.
Well, you need some of that when you're, especially for a startup team, but really for any team, you need some of that for the non-soccer fans. Especially in a sport like soccer that, I don't want to say it's a fringe sport, but in this country, you think your football is your baseball, your basketball, soccer's not necessarily at the top of that conversation. So, but it could be for any sport. We have the New Mexico Ice Wolves coming this season for junior hockey as well, and curious to see what they're going to do. But it's the same thing. You need to attract the sports fans and the non-sports fans. You need to give them something to hold on to, and that's one of the things that United did so well.
I think the watch parties, I was so impressed by that. The watch
they're
parties,
everywhere.
Right. And then the Bull Snakes are coming in. The Bull Snakes, the ABA team are coming in. So any pro team that comes here, of course, you wish success. Economically speaking, it's an economic impact. There's a lot of things around the edge there that could help Albuquerque. I used to dream about that when I was a kid. Are we ever going to get a professional team? We won't, right? Probably not in my lifetime, maybe in yours. But we don't have the tax base to support that here for sure. But United coming in like that, the Isotopes are here. Maybe the Ice Wolves takes off. Hopefully the Bull Snakes do well. So good things are seemingly happening to Albuquerque right in front of us. That's great.
Yeah, it's a process little by little. I mean, it's nothing huge is going to happen overnight in a town that's not, one of your top professional markets, but you look at some smaller scale, some things that are going on, with Connor O'Toole and some of the top high school recruits, and what's going on with United, and even a little bit of offseason here for Lobo basketball. I mean, even 6 months ago, if you would have told somebody that, in this short a time, Albuquerque is becoming a place where people want to come play sports, they might not have. I mean, they probably would have given you a weird look at me because there wasn't a lot positive to talk about 6 months ago. We were talking about trying to save Lobo soccer and skiing and beach volleyball. That was kind of at the forefront of the conversation. But now there's been so many positives that's taken over. It's great to see.
I think that's, for me, again, somebody that's lived here, and you mentioned Lobo soccer, right? And it's ironic to me, the demise of Lobo soccer, and all of a sudden United on the rise. There's some irony there, right?
Right.
Of course. So Scott and I talk about it all the time because Scott was the voice of the Lobos and where the programs are now as opposed to when he was the voice of the UNM Lobos. And, Lobo football, we just talked about that before we got on the air. It's a program that I'm always going to watch. I've watched since 1970 when Rocky Long was a quarterback. I still remember Mike Roberts on the radio call.
Right.
So, of course, I'm going to support them no matter where they are. But United has given us at least a reason, as you mentioned, reason to hope, right? Because we had said that, mentioned that 2 years ago, people look at you like, hey, they might build a stadium somewhere for a soccer team. They're like, right. But now it's not out of the realm of possibility because of what they've done marketing-wise. It's amazing what they've done. Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk more about that in just a moment, but we'll take a break here and come right back on the Sports Desk. We are back here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Galetti along with Ed Nunez. We're talking summer sports right now, getting ready for the high school season. Ed, you had to remind me about the previews and all that stuff because I'm going to have to type that stuff up here pretty quick.
Oh, it's only a couple of weeks away. What is it today, July? It's 1 month from today. We're going to be deep in it or close to it.
I'll start graphics tomorrow then.
Yeah. You do a great job with that, by the way.
So, yeah, it takes a little time. So. It's funny. At the end of the year, we've joked about this ever since you started co-hosting the show, that at the end of the year, it's like, well, we got a few months, downtime, yada, yada, and then next thing you know, it's here. But with all the preparing and all the growth that Proview Networks has done, more graphics, the guys do a great job of all their preview stuff. I mean, between all of us, it's a project now. And next thing you know, it sneaks up on you. And I'll be honest, it snuck up on me.
Yeah, you know what? Well, you've been busy too, though. You did Hawaii baseball, and you're going to do some Connie Mack Little League baseball. You're a busy guy.
Not Little League.
Oh,
Tristan Schallenberger might argue with you if you say Little League. He just graduated high school.
What is Connie Mack?
That's I think it's 16
to
18.
So you're going to be a busy guy.
17, 16
That's
18,
going to be a great tournament that you're out there for, by the way. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So I mean, there's guys that played JC ball last year that have one more year of experience. It goes to 18.
Yeah.
So the minute you turn 19, you can't play anymore. But
a couple of kids.
It's hard to believe that time of year is here, and we got Sam Hauser from ESPN Radio 1017, the team on the Jim Villanucci show. The sidekick, the co-host. What's the other one?
Boy Genius.
Boy Genius. That's the other one. Sidekick. Show contributor.
Show contributor, morning update host, program director.
I forgot the morning.
Trash taker outer and everything else.
Yeah, you had to mention the trash taker outer. That's one of the.
Turn off the thermostat and the lights on the way out.
Yep, I've had to do that when doing the board for Lobo games. So
we've all been there.
We know the drill.
Yeah.
But man, I mean. You do all these things, but you've really embraced yourself. And, we talked about this off the air. You got to make it to the frontier. You got to go to Golden Pride.
Yeah.
They're big sponsors here. They've been big sponsors over at 1017 also. It's a must go.
Oh, of course. We'll get to a lot of places. I mean, we got here in January. I used to come and visit all the time as a kid. We have family out here, but we got here in January, and it might as well have still been a new place. Like I knew where my aunt's house was, but I couldn't tell you how to get there from anywhere.
Well, you say it was over 10 years, and I can guarantee you it's grown leaps and bounds
I'm
since
sure
the
it
last
has.
time you were here. Because when I moved out here from Southern California, I'd been out here maybe 4 or 5 years before that, and it was tiny.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, the outskirts, Rio Rancho's growing, all this stuff. It's like, where'd all these houses, where'd all these people? And it went from like, what, 300,000-400,000 to almost 8 just in Albuquerque,
Right.
and now the metro area is over 1 million. So it's grown overnight.
I'm sure it has.
It's pretty amazing because we thought we were moving to a little town, and it's not so little anymore.
Yeah, I can tell you what a little town is, Scott.
Yeah, I know. Austin, what was it like working in Austin, Minnesota? Because you had a chance to do a lot of different sports. You
Yeah.
had a chance to do hockey, obviously,
Yes.
which is one of my loves as well. But you had, you had snow, you had everything.
Yeah, I mean, we had high school hockey, which was a cool, unique experience, something that you don't really see in many parts of the country.
Right.
So that was fun. Yeah, no, it was completely different. I can say this jokingly and lovingly with a term of endearment now, but the first time we drove, so it was a town of 25,000. It was 12 square miles, 25,000. I had been used to living in metropolitan cities in South
Yeah,
Florida
you
my
were-
entire
you were
life.
in Florida, yeah.
So
you were in Miami.
We're driving down this 2-lane road through a cornfield, and I see this little building on the side of the road, and I said, "What is that?" Oh wait, that's where I work now. So it was a very different experience, but I mean, it was completely invaluable. You learn more there
Right.
than you would being an intern at a big station.
Oh, absolutely.
So
yeah, no, that is totally true.
Yeah, for sure.
That's like me when I got thrust into newspaper work. I worked at a small newspaper where I did everything but the printing press.
right.
You
I'm
learn
surprised you didn't
everything
do the
about-
printing press.
Well, they allowed me to turn it on. That was a union position. They let me turn on the switch, but they didn't allow me. Otherwise, I would have.
Right.
I learned everything. So that was a good. You took well advantage of that.
Oh, I mean, you have to. I mean, what we do for work every day is fun and silly, and the
Right.
fact that somebody pays us to do this, the fact that we do this every day is amazing.
Right.
I wanted to ask you, Sam, ESPN Radio covers the Dallas Cowboys 101.7.
Right.
Covered the Cowboys for a while. I'm a huge Cowboy fan, been a Cowboy fan since 1970. Now, prospects for the upcoming season, I'm thinking, this is just my thoughts, it's NFC Championship or bust for Jason Garrett. If he doesn't get there, I'm pretty sure he's gone. That's just what I think. They've got some contract issues, though. Dak Prescott is up for a contract. Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper,
Right.
Byron
We've
Jones.
been talking about that a lot, actually.
Yeah, that's kind of been one of our big. I mean, now that we're getting into Cowboys season, we have a lot of Cowboy fan listeners as well.
Byron Jones not till next year. But I don't think, this is just my opinion, I don't think Dak Prescott is worth $30 million. But what do you think the market's going to pay him? Because Carson Wentz did get that money, that kind of money from the Philadelphia Eagles. But Prescott at $30 million, I'd say more like 20 to 25, something like that.
Yeah, if that's really what it's going to come down to, I think if you're the Cowboys, you have to see if somebody else will pay him that. My thought process this year, and this is such the opposite of conventional wisdom, but again, this is why we do what we do and coaches do what they do. If it were me, I'm going, all right, look, you want that $30 million? Go out there and earn it this year. A lot of times coaches and quarterbacks, you don't want them on the last year of a contract, which I understand, but this is such a precarious situation for the Cowboys. This is such a turning point moment for them. And I feel like we say that every year, but with all the contracts that you mentioned, they still need some help, some defensive depth help as well. There's a lot of areas where that money has to go. And unless you have a guy out there that's going to go win you a Super Bowl, you can't pay him $30 million.
I think, though, thinking from a lot of Cowboy fans now, I think their defense is okay. I do. They got Robert Quinn in a trade. Randy Gregory, I think they'll reinstate him. He's suspended again, but it seems like the NFL is relaxing their rules on marijuana. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I think their defense is fine. I do. I mean, coverage-wise, they probably could use another corner. They did get a safety. Yeah. So, but I think their D should be okay.
You can always use more help in the
Right,
secondary.
of course.
Right.
Of course. Travis Frederick returns. He was out last year, and that was a big loss.
Right.
I think Connor Williams is bulked up at left guard. Their line should be okay. I don't know if it's going to be at the 2014 level when they dominated. But I just don't know if Dak Prescott, when Amari Cooper came in, his game picked up a little bit. He became a better quarterback. He's inaccurate.
Significantly better.
He misfires. His mechanics haven't always been good. He's got a new quarterback coach in John Kidna. He's got a new offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore.
Two very good
Right.
quarterbacks.
So it's going to be interesting to see what they do because people in Dallas, again, unrealistic expectations haven't been to an NFC Championship in what, 25?
Don't tell us
yeah.
that, Ed.
So it's just going to be interesting to see what happens because people think right?
Right.
And I'm one of those unrealistic fans as well. But I just don't know where their ceiling is. I think it's high. I do. But Jason Witten returns. I don't know.
Yeah.
They need a speed tight end. They need a tight end that can bust the seam, but he is a veteran. So I think they have all the pieces in place for a deep run.
But I think you're right, though, with the coach being on the last year of a contract, the quarterback being on the last year of a contract, this is where everything has to go right. I mean, we've been saying that for how many years now, where for the Cowboys, where this has to be the year, but this really has to
Right.
be the year. And so that's where the front office is going to earn their money, where there's some really interesting decisions to make. You talk about Dak Prescott. We had a Cowboys writer on the show about a month ago on the Jim Villanucci show, and we asked him, what do you imagine, as somebody that sees Dak every day, what's his ceiling? He said Russell Wilson, and we both almost fell out of our chairs, because if Dak Prescott could turn into that, then this is going to be, the Cowboys team that fans have wanted him to be, like you said, for the last 25 years. So there's a lot to be excited about, if nothing else, right now, just for the talking points around the team.
I think one more point, Scott. I think also Russell Wilson benefited from the Legion of Boom, short fields. Russell Wilson
Right.
did benefit from a very good defense. That defense was, for a
Right.
while, unparalleled in the National Football League for a while.
Yeah, you're right. about
Difference
that.
between the two of them is Russell Wilson doesn't need a running back to. I mean, he had Marshawn Lynch when they went to those Super Bowls, but he can be just fine without one.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll take a break. One more segment coming up here on the Sports Desk. It is the Sports Desk here on Proview Network's Comcast 26. Scott Galetti along with Ed Nunez. Special guest from ESPN Radio 1017, the team, Sam Hauser. He is Boy Genius. He is the show contributor. He is the show producer. He is the co-host. What the hell aren't you?
That's a good question.
Yeah, well, you don't have an answer. Okay, well,
Eh.
we just covered that. He's everything over there, so, we have a chance to work quite often together, so it's a fun thing. And,
If you ask me, are you that? The answer is probably. Yeah, probably.
Right. Well, one of the things that you brought up in one of the previous segments, we'll talk a little bit about that, because we're going to get heavy into high school. We'll get heavy into Lobos as the season comes up here as well. But you mentioned Connor O'Toole. We've been talking about him all summer. Ed and I have been talking about him pretty much since a year ago.
Amazing athlete.
So, I mean, it's amazing what he does. But he's not the primary receiver, or at least he didn't used to be the main
Right.
receiver on La Cueva, because he had Jashawn Lowry and Naj Robertson, who in technicality were the lead receivers. But this kid has taken over the city by storm. What's the number where he's up to now? Because you're keeping a running total.
I think we're at 16. Last I checked, I think we're at 16.
He keeps a running total of offers that
Oh, wow. Yeah.
that Connor's getting.
Well, we
and
started
it's pretty-
keeping it track at about 7 or 8, and then
I
from
think it was 3 or 4 when we started keeping
might have even
track,
been
and
before that, but-
and then it went up to 7 and 8 real quick.
Yeah.
And it's been ever since.
and now
but
it's up to, I think it's up to 16.
had him on and everything. What a fine young man.
Well, that's what I was exactly what I was going to get to. We had him on the show. He's such a level-headed guy. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking to him. He's a wide receiver from Albuquerque. He's getting all this national attention. We had him on the show. He just got done with a visit in Norman.
Yeah.
He was in Norman, Oklahoma.
He was in Norman.
He was
yeah.
in Norman. He just
Yeah,
got done with a
when-
visit.
when he was on the phone
with the
us,
Sooners.
because we were on location.
Yeah.
He was in Norman.
Yeah, we had him on the Jim Villanucci show. He was in Norman for a visit with Oklahoma. And, I mean, he couldn't have been more relaxed and level-headed and just comfortable in his own situation, which, I mean, most of us at 16, 17 years old, I can't even imagine. You're flying around the country. You're talking to college coaches for a visit. It's so impressive how these high school recruits, these 16, 17-year-old student athletes, have just been able to understand and figure out that, this is my life. I'm going to make the most of it.
And I've gotten to know him pretty well, so I knew this already, but, you've gotten a taste of it. The first thing that he was talking about when we were asking him questions wasn't it was we
Right.
on the answer, because all he was talking about was his team and his teammates, and, hey, I get this opportunity, but we are getting ready for a big season.
Right. Well, he understands like you mentioned some of the other players, he understands what a good team he has around him and what an opportunity the Bears have at a state title this year.
And you're familiar with him as well, Ed. What are your thoughts on him as a young man?
Well, as a young man, he's, again, outstanding person, no question about it. But I think over the summer, He ran track, I think, in the spring.
That's where he started getting
Right.
looks because he got that 40 time, and ever since that, it's like, wow, this guy's that fast. We got to look at him.
Yeah, and I think it's only
Because I think he was at 2 or 3 before he ran that 40 time.
Right.
And then it just, boom, it just went off.
well right now. I'm sure during the summer, adding weight, adding to his already working on his speed, which is already fantastic, and putting on some pounds, some good weight. And so
Wasn't a small kid to begin with.
no,
though.
but when he's so excited about him is the yards after the catch. When
Mm-hmm.
he catches it, gosh, it gets in the secondary, forget it, he's gone.
Yeah.
So it's going to be exciting to watch him play senior season, no question.
And Sam hasn't seen him play in person yet, but he knows all about him. Tell me you haven't done a game with him where he's not wide open all the time.
No, you know what?
I mean, he's the one guy in this city, and there's other guys who have a propensity to get wide open. You see 81 in the middle of the field almost all the time.
a lot of that has to do, of course, with Brandon Backley, the
Right.
way of the head coach, and
Right.
they do have talent around Connor O'Toole. There's no doubt. But yes, you're right. And when he gets open and catches it, the yards after the catch, if he gets running, forget it. You're not going to catch him.
Yeah, when you go out to a game, you'll notice him right away.
Oh, I'm sure it's probably not that hard just watching him line up. I'm sure he stands out already right away. Just like you mentioned with the 40 time and a lot of things that he's very proud of. His 40 time, his GPA, those things that are on his Twitter bio. Which
Right.
hey, if I ran a sub 4.40 and had a GPA close to 4, I'd brag about it too.
Now, when you started, you weren't doing. You didn't get a chance to do football, but you had high school basketball. Obviously, you got
Yeah.
to cover the state tournament and work on the shows there, and it was great for you to jump in there. But this will be your first football season, and
Yeah.
it's a little bit different from other places, but it's a cool place. And the one thing that I'll always say about Albuquerque, the facilities, and you can vouch for this because you've been all over the state. Most of the facilities are like college quality.
Oh yeah, no question about it, no doubt.
Yeah, it's interesting. You go back to the basketball season at the state tournament. I mean, you and I didn't really know each other that well yet. But
Well, you were brand new. I mean,
Yeah.
you were like a month in.
yeah, well, so we were talking about some of the differences between high school basketball here and in Minnesota, where you
Because
guys
you did it at the Target Center in Minnesota,
right, but even just here it's what 8-minute quarters as opposed to
Right.
we play 12-minute halves, and it's funny. I was looking
No
at
shot clock. Did they have shot
No,
clock in
no
Minnesota?
shot clock.
Oh, okay.
No.
See, in California they have a shot clock, so I was always used to.
But
shot
even
clock.
looking ahead now for football season, I think what is it? It was a 10-game regular season schedule.
Yeah.
We played 8 games.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's interesting. There's differences in that, but I kind of like.
Is that because of the number of teams?
It probably did work out that way. There were less teams, but I like the 10 games.
Yeah. See, in California, you know this because I've talked about this on the show many a time with Steve Davis and yourself. In California, they got the same 10 games. They got 14 games counting playoffs, but it's a divisional playoff and not a state because there's so many schools.
Right.
They don't have a true state
Yeah.
playoff. They have a state playoff where they pick like 8 teams and they're all kind of level divisions and they kind of put them all together. But it's not really like here where you might play a team during the year and play them again in the playoffs. There, that's not the case because it really isn't a state playoff.
I see. Yeah, there's just too many teams out there. I see.
But the amount of games are the same. But it's cool. And the thing is, the season flies. And you and I have talked about just the grind of the coaches. And we're lucky. We work with some of the coolest coaches. And don't misconstrue cool with these guys. They
Right.
don't care. Oh man, on game day, these guys are about as tense as they can be. But we work with some of the most professional high school coaches that I've ever been around.
When you mention that, I think of Heath Ridenauer at Cleveland, Jeremy Maupin at Los Lunas. I talked to Jeremy Maupin about 10 times last year, and always accessible. And I called him a guy that you should have seen the plays he designed, Sam. You wouldn't have believed it. A young guy, innovative offensively, and some plays you just weren't expecting.
Right.
And he came. I don't know where he came up with them. And just had always usually the defense off balance by using pieces in his offense that you would like, no way, use a linebacker in a power formation. You didn't expect that. One time uses a defensive end, they fake it and he catches a 1-yard touchdown. I mean a defensive end on football. I didn't expect that. So every time I'm calling a game of his, I'm like, wow. And he's a young coach. Las Lunas would be very lucky to hold on to him
Right.
for 2 or 3
So
more years.
he's our Sean McVay.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
He's amazing. They got to the state championship, they lost, but every week I write for Enchantment Sports. I got to talk to him, and he's always accessible. Doesn't big time anybody. Just a great guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what are some of the things that you're looking forward to as you go into your first fall here?
Well, yeah, absolutely. High school football season. I mean, it doesn't matter what state you're in. There's nothing like that atmosphere. Certainly, the Lobo football season.
I was going to say, you'll be covering the Lobo football season hot
Yeah,
and heavy
you
also.
know, there's been a lot of disappointment around the team, but I'll tell you, I watched the entire game against Wisconsin last year. That looked like a team that has a lot to be proud of. You know, even though the record might not indicate it in the last couple of years, but I got a feeling there's something to look forward to if they can be healthy. And then just coming with the background that I have, I'm really looking forward to see what the Ice Wolves can do. I think they're going to make a really good impression on this town.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too because this is the first time in a few years they had the Scorpions when I moved to town, and they haven't had them since. But I mean, I've done professional hockey, and looking forward to seeing what they can do.
Yeah, the NAHL has grown so much over the last couple of years, you wouldn't even recognize it. So, don't just think of it for what it is as junior hockey. Look at it as a league on the rise with, I mean, you have hundreds and hundreds of these guys every year that are earning Division I college scholarships. It really is high-quality hockey.
Well, it's not only that. You'll see a guy or two, or even more than that, that will make it up to the next level and end up being professional.
Yeah, once or twice a year, you'll get a guy from the NAHL that gets his name called in the NHL draft, too. Absolutely.
Right. So it's kind of cool. We got about a minute and a half. Other questions?
Yeah,
Sam?
one more question, Sam. Your quick take on John Bones Jones, the latest assault allegations.
Yeah.
Nothing proven.
Right.
Your take.
I mean, the biggest take, we talked about this yesterday on the Jim Villanucci show on 101.7 The Team. Biggest take that I had is, I mean, if he's going to go out, I mean, a guy like that, obviously he's going to go out. But if he's going to go anywhere, if he's going out in Albuquerque, he has to know that he has to be on high alert. If he's going to go out in any other city, it's
Right.
one thing. But if he's going to go out here where everybody knows him and everybody's got a strong opinion about him, whether they love him or they see him as a villain,
Good
and he's a
point.
villain fighter, that transfers over to him being a villain as a person. He has to know if he's going to go out here, he has to be more careful.
Well, want to thank you so much, Sam, for joining us here today.
Good to see you guys.
Final thoughts, Ed? 30 seconds.
You know what? Thanks, Sam. You guys do a great job on ESPN Radio. Keep up the great work.
Will do.
Well, want to thank Old Aniawani for doing a great job. The guys here, I can't wait to see what they have planned for their football preview.
Oh, I know. It's gonna be awesome.
Last year it was kind of fun. Josh Brown was out fishing. Alden, I
Oh,
think,
man.
was at the
That's right. The
Washington
library. Yeah. Yeah. Jason was doing yoga.
Gotta see,
Yeah.
we got to
That's
see
right.
what scene sets that those
I can't wait
guys
to see
have.
that. Yeah.
So anyway, he's Sam Hauser for Ed Nunez, Scott Galetti. We'll see you next week on the Sports Desk.